"I think you need a hug. Can I hug you?" said the little girl to the young homeless woman at the bus stop. The cold came down hard that evening, the kind of winter chill that didn't just bite the skin but pressed into the chest, making every breath feel heavier than the last. Snow drifted lazily through the yellow glow of the streetlights, settling on cracked sidewalks and empty benches at a quiet bus stop in Columbus, Ohio. Most people hurried past with their heads down, collars pulled tight, pretending not to see the woman sitting near the curb in a thin red dress and worn shoes, her knees drawn to her chest as if she could fold herself small enough to disappear. Her name was Grace Miller, and for the first time in her 27 years, she truly believed the world had forgotten her. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in small moments that can change a life, take a second right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Because stories like this deserve to be heard. Grace hadn't always been invisible. Just 2 years earlier, she had been working the front desk at a small dental clinic, saving money, dreaming of nursing school, and believing that hard work was a shield strong enough to protect her from anything. Then her mother passed after a long illness, the rent doubled when the building changed owners, and a careless driver ran a red light that left Grace with a broken leg and months without work. One setback became another, and another, until the savings were gone, the friends stopped answering, and the couch she slept on became a shelter bed, then a bus seat, and finally the sidewalk. That night at the bus stop, Grace wasn't crying loudly or begging. She had already learned that loud pain scared people away. Her tears slid down silently, freezing on her cheeks as she stared at her reflection in the dark glass of the shelter, barely recognizing the woman she saw. What hurt more than the cold was the feeling that she no longer mattered. People passed within inches of her boots, their laughter and phone conversations floating by like sounds from another life. A man in a wool coat glanced at her and quickly looked away. A couple argued softly as they waited for the bus, annoyed by the delay, by the snow, by everything except the human being shivering beside them. Grace pressed her hand to her mouth to keep her teeth from chattering, telling herself she just had to make it through the night. Morning would bring another chance to find a shelter bed, another chance to survive. Hope, however, felt like a word meant for other people. That was when she noticed the child. Small footsteps crunched in the snow, stopping just a few feet in front of her. Grace lifted her eyes and saw a little girl with curly light brown hair peeking out from under a knitted hat, her cheeks pink from the cold, her coat buttoned crookedly like she had dressed herself. The girl's arms slowly opened, wide and fearless, as if offering something precious without understanding its value. Behind her stood a man in his early 30s, tall and tense, his eyes filled with concern and uncertainty as he watched the scene unfold. His name was Michael Harper, a widowed father who had learned to be cautious with the world after loss had entered his own life. He had brought his daughter, Hannah, along on a short bus ride home from visiting her grandmother, never expecting the night to teach either of them something unforgettable. Grace froze. No one ever stopped this close. No one ever looked at her like that, without fear, without judgment, without calculation. Hannah didn't see a homeless woman or a problem to avoid. She saw a person who looked sad, someone who reminded her of how she felt the day her mother didn't come back from the hospital. Grace's chest tightened as memories surged forward, of being held as a child when scraped knees felt like the end of the world, of arms wrapping around her when words weren't enough. She shook her head slightly, unsure, afraid that if she reached out, the moment would vanish like breath in the cold. But the little girl didn't pull away. She took another step closer, snowflakes landing in her hair, her open arms steady and patient. Grace felt something crack inside her, a wall she had built out of necessity and pride. Slowly, trembling, she leaned forward, resting her forehead against the child's shoulder, careful, gentle, as if afraid of breaking something fragile. Hannah wrapped her small arms around Grace's neck, warm and sure, holding on the way only a child can, completely, without conditions. Grace's tears came harder then, soaking into the fabric of the child's coat, her shoulders shaking as months of loneliness poured out in silence. Michael took a step forward, his breath catching in his throat. He had spent so much time trying to protect his daughter from pain that he hadn't realized how much compassion she already carried. He watched Grace's posture change, watched the tension ease just slightly, and understood that something holy was happening right there on the concrete. When the bus lights finally appeared in the distance, Michael made a decision that felt small but mattered. He knelt down, offering Grace a folded card with the address of a local church outreach program he volunteered with, one that offered meals, job connections, and temporary housing. He didn't speak much. He didn't need to. The look in his eyes said enough. The bus came and went, but Grace stayed seated for a long time after, clutching the card in her hand like a lifeline. The cold was still there, the uncertainty still real, but something had shifted. For the first time in months, she didn't feel invisible. She felt seen. The next morning, she walked through the doors of the church on the card, nervous and exhausted, but determined. Weeks passed, then months. Grace found steady work at a grocery store, then enrolled in night classes, her dream of nursing no longer a memory, but a goal again. It wasn't easy. Some nights she cried from sheer exhaustion, but she kept going, carrying that moment at the bus stop with her like a quiet promise. One spring afternoon, as cherry blossoms bloomed along the sidewalks of Columbus, Grace volunteered at the same outreach program that had helped her. She served meals, folded blankets, and greeted people with the same gentleness she had once been given. In the crowd, she spotted a familiar face, Michael, older, smiling softly, Hannah by his side, taller now, her curls pulled back with a ribbon. Their eyes met, and recognition passed between them like sunlight. Grace felt her heart swell, knowing that a simple act from a child had rerouted her entire life. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that even the smallest kindness can echo forever, please take a moment now to like this video, share it with someone who believes in compassion, and subscribe to the channel so more stories like this can reach the people who need them most. And before this video ends, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from and whether you've ever experienced or witnessed a moment of unexpected kindness. Sometimes, all it takes to save a life isn't money or power or answers. Sometimes, it's just a hug at a bus stop offered by a child brave enough to care.